Hello everyone, I'm Richard. After the device in ADCampus gets online and managed by the director, how to divide and deploy the user's business, and what are the matters leading attention. In this issue, I will explain the business deployment process in the beginning of the ADCampus solution. First of all, I will introduce the initial business configuration ideas. The initial business configuration is divided into four steps. Step 1. Common group configuration. The common group is to divide the devices and interface with the same functions and attributes into the same group. Through the operation of the common group, the purpose of rapid batch configuration of devices can be achieved. Step 2. Configure secured groups. A secured group represents a user group with the same permissions. A secured group is associated with the layer 2 network, and the user's IP address is signed from the subnets of the layer 2 network domain. Step 3. Configure access group. Access group is a way for user to use the network. It is composed of a set of predefined network usage characteristics. Access group provides user with a perfect access policy. After applying for a specific group policy, users can access the network according to the attributes set by the access group. Step 4. Create access users. Access users, that is, network users. The access users match the corresponding access scenario for users through the access groups applied by access users to meet the different authentication requirements. First, let's take a look at the configuration of the common group. In the ADCampus interface, under the Common Group tab in the left navigation bar, we can see that the Common Group includes Device Group and Interface Group. Devices with the same functions in the campus can be divided into the same device group. According to the network, the ADCampus solution has AC device group, Leaf device group, SWAN device group, and Access device group. The interfaces with the same function in the campus are divided into an interface group, according to the role of networking device and the connection relationship between devices. Access uplink, leave downlink, and span downlink are preset in the solution. You can also define your own interface groups as needed. There are two steps to configure the common group. The first one is the import of common group. The second one is the common group policy settings. Let's first take a look at the imports of common group. The common group can be automatically imported and manually imported. After the devices get online and managed, the device group and the interface group do not have any devices and interfaces. We can click the automatic import devices and interface button to complete the automatic grouping of the devices and interface. At this time, we can see that the Leaf device has been added to the Leaf device group, and the interface of Leaf that connects the Leaf to the Access devices has been added to the Leaf downlink port. You can also manually import and click the Modify button to manually add devices or interface into the corresponding group. After setting the device group and the interface group members, we can complete the batch configuration of devices and the interface by setting the group policy of the device group and the interface group. Select the group policy of the Leaf device group. Click the Add button and set the group policy name according to the actual networking situation. Some policy action can be set for the Leaf device group in the network according to the actual networking situation, like DOS1X, AAA, and MAC authentication, and etc. Similarly, in the Leaf downlink interface group, you can also set DOS1X, AAA, and MAC authentication, and etc. After the group policy setting is completed, click the deployment result to view the detailed configuration of the directory distributed on the devices. After the configuration of the device group and interface group in the common group is completed, the basic functions of the network devices are configured. The next step is to configure the security group, which represents the user group with the same network access rights. The whole security group configuration is divided into three steps. The first step is to configure the private network. A private network is a VPN. A VPN default private network is preset in the scheme, which will be used by the management and control channel of Xline 4094. We suggest that the user's server and service and management and control channels belongs to different private network VPN. The second step is to configure the Layer 2 network domain. The Layer 2 network domain defines the subnet, and its IP address, gateway, and other parameters can be specified. Users in each Layer 2 network domain are in the same logical Layer 2 network and communicate with each other. A Layer 2 network domain belongs to a VPN. And the third step is to configure security groups. A security group is associated with the Layer 2 network domain. If DHCP is enabled when creating a security group, the corresponding address pool will be created on the DHCP server at the same time, so that the IP address of the user will be allocated from the associated subnet address pool. We first configure the private network. In the ADCampus directory, click the Service, Security Group, Private Network, Add button to add a new private network VPN instance. Here, we add a new private network of Education Network. The VPN instance is VPN 1, and the DNS is set to 8.8.8.8. Next, you need to configure the Layer 2 network domain. Click the Security Group, Layer 2 Network Domain, and the bottom to add a new Layer 2 network domain. Here, we set up the Teacher Layer 2 network domain, which belongs to the Education Network VPN, and then set up the gateway IP and the subnet mask. Finally, configure the security group. First, click the security group, then click Add to add a new security group. Then set the name of the security group as the Teacher Security, which belongs to the Education Private Network, and it is associated with the Teacher Layer 2 network domain. Then enable the DHCP function here. After the configuration is completed, we can view the detailed configuration through the deployment results. After setting up the common group and security group, we need to configure the access group in the next step. The setting of access group mainly includes three parts. The first part is access policy. The second part is the basic information. The third part is the access scenario. So in the access policy, you can set user-related authorization information, authentication band information, user client configuration, and other parameters. In the basic information, you can set the default access policy, default security group, limit the number of accounts online, and enable mark port authentication. In the access scenario, the access scenario can match the user's access mode according to the person, location, equipment, time, and other conditions. At the same time, the corresponding access group and the security group are associated. Let's take a look at the detailed configuration steps. Here, click the Access Policy button in the Access group to add a teacher group access policy. Here, we use the default setting for authorization information. Then click the Add button in the Access group to add a teacher access group. The default access policy is to prohibit access. The security group is not used, and other parameters are zero, which means unlimited. The administrator can adjust it according to this. Finally, set the access scenario and click the Add button in the access scenario. The scenario name is set to 1. You can select the access conditions as required. Associated the teacher access policy and the teacher security group in the access strategy in the access policy of the access scenario. Then click OK to complete the setting. So far, we have completed the device group configuration, security configuration, and the access group configuration. Next, we create a access user. The access user is the network user. Should access group applied by the access user, we can match the corresponding access scenario for the user to meet the different authentication requirements. Here we click the Add button in User and Access User to add platform users. Then binding the corresponding access group to the access users. After completing the above configuration, we have completed the opening service configuration. At this time, if a terminal user access network authentication is paused, the access policy in the access group will be automatically associated, and the corresponding security group will be matched. After the authentication, the correct business address can be obtained. Next, let's take a look at the following points in the whole configuration process. First, if the device group grouping needs to be imported automatically, the controller and the network equipment should be configured with correct class-conf network management parameters. Second, when device group policy is deleted, the controller will also clear the configuration issued on the device. Third, the newly added device group and interface group members will inherit the attributes and group policy of the group object and make distribution for corresponding configuration. First, users with the same permissions are planned to be the same security group. Fifth, it is suggested that the user service and scheme management and control channels belong to different private network VPNs. Last, after banding the access group, the user matches the access scenario in order. If there is no qualified scenario, the default access policy and the security group are used. That's all. Thank you.